What is up, guys? Randomonium here with your patch 613 analysis and breakdown. I feel like I just did one of these videos, but Riot's putting out yet another patch. And this time they're targeting more supports in this patch and a little bit in top lane. But yeah, let's get into it. Let's take a look at what these patch notes are. So first up is Blitzcrank. Looks like they are nerfing him. So instead of the rocket grab pulling him directly on top of the target, it's 75 units in front. Duration of Power Fist is down. Cooldown on his ultimate is up. Yeah, not sure how I feel about these buffs. I mean, Blitzcrank is a monster in kind of lower elos, but he's not very useful in high elo, which is what I think Riot should balance around. Is really kind of the higher elo. So yeah, kind of confused about this a little bit, but I'll reserve judgment until I see him getting played on this new patch. Lulu, they're making some changes to her. So the problem that's always been with Lulu is that if you try to buff her as a support, you also buff her as a mid laner, and then she becomes a complete terror in the mid lane. Like she really dominated for a long time in mid lane. She was a very contested pick. So it looks like the way that they're going to try and get around that this time is slight base mana and movement speed buffs, and now they're making it so her Glitter Lance damage falls off a lot harder against multiple targets, but it will wind up slowing for 2 seconds at all ranks rather than just 2 seconds at max rank. And then they're also making it so that her Whimsy gives attack speed. That's really interesting. So not only are you going to get the movement speed buff from Whimsy, but you also get the attack speed buff. I think this will really help her as a support. It will also help her as a mid laner, but I think that this will keep her power in check as a mid laner and really help her as a support. So I think these are good changes. Good changes for support Lulu. So yeah, I'll definitely have to try these out because I really like playing Lulu. I think she's really fun, and I really like this attack speed now. I think it's going to synergize well with a lot of the AD carries who really favor attack speed in the current meta. Alright, Tahm Kench looks like he's getting buffed. So they moved the um, percent health damage that was on his ultimate to his passive now. And instead of it scaling off of the bonus health, it's now off of maximum health. So it's 1.5% at level 16. So if Kench has about 3,000 hit points, that's like 45 damage. So I think that's fine. I don't think that's going to be too overpowered. Looks like tongue lash damage slightly up. Huge changes to his thick skin. So damage to gray health is down. Gray health to healing conversion is up. Shield duration is down, but the cooldown has also been greatly reduced, and the shield no longer decays. So I think they're trying to incentivize you to use the shield more often rather than just always rely on it, the healing. So that's interesting. And then it looks like for his Abyssal Voyage, they're making it just a little bit easier to use. So channel duration's down, cast delay is down, warning time is down for the enemy, and the range is up. So they're just making it better. I think that's really essential because Ryze's new ultimate for the rework that's on the PBE is very similar to Tahm Kench, so they need to differentiate Tahm Kench's ultimate from Ryze's ultimate. So I think these will be good. Thresh looks like minor changes. So Epic Monsters now drop 2 souls. All right, cool. They removed the ability power ratio on Dark Passage. That sounds good. And now the shield gets +1 per soul collected. That's a cool interaction there. And it looks like they've got some quality of life stuff that will make it easier for allies to click the lantern and for him to do his nifty plays where he uses Death Sentence and then pulls an ally with him when he goes in with Death Sentence. So, okay, that's really cool. It'll probably make Thresh a lot easier to play. So, yeah, I think we'll see a little bit more play on Thresh. Zyra looks like they are changing her passive and her W respawn times. So they're increasing those. I think that's probably a good change because she was really oppressive. She was able to put up a ton of plants, and you feel like you never ran out of seeds in her current form. And then they also fixed a bug where Zyra could her plants would automatically target enemy champions. Even Zyra hadn't attacked the enemy champion, and that allowed her to have like insane range on her poke. So that's really good. That should make it so that Zyra's a little bit more risk reward because Zyra's like super fragile as a support, but she just does a ton of damage. So yeah, I think this is really good for her. I'm glad that they're not touching her damage. They're just kind of making her power more well defined. All right, Zilean, they fixed a bug where Chrono Shift was not proccing on heal effects. Okay, I guess that's good. Gnar's getting buffed. That's kind of interesting because I feel like he's just outside the meta. Like a couple teams in the LCS are picking him up and playing him, and I feel like if he gets a couple buffs, he's going to be back in the meta full swing. I think a lot of the reason why he's not in the meta is some of the champions that do really well against him are in meta right now. But it looks like they are increasing his mini Gnar range by a little bit. They're increasing the boomerang throw return distance, and they're increasing the damage on his hyper. So they're buffing mini Gnar. They're not touching Mega Gnar, which is good because mini Gnar feels pretty weak, but Mega Gnar feels really strong. So yeah, I think that's good. I think that might bring Gnar back into the meta, especially in the LCS. Irelia, her R cooldown is up. I think that's probably the best nerf they could have given her. I'm glad that they're not touching her Q, they're not touching her E. Yeah, I'm glad that they decided to go with her R because Irelia she pretty much could use her R all the time, and it was just really frustrating because she could use it to wave clear if she was behind, so you couldn't exert pressure on the tower. And she could also use it for wave clear when she's ahead to really put a lot of pressure on you. She could also use it for all-ins because her ultimate would come off cooldown much quicker usually than your ultimate would. And she really kind of felt a lot like Maokai did in Season 5, where his ultimate was always off cooldown. I feel like you could never abuse him. There was never a time when his ultimate was on cooldown. So I like this. It's going to make her power spikes much more well defined, and it's going to allow people to punish her a little bit better. So yeah, I think that's a really great change to Irelia. I'm glad that it didn't nerf her in other ways. All right, Jarvan. They increased his W shield, so it looks like the base shield went down slightly, but they gave a pretty huge buff to the bonus shield per enemy champion hit. And then also they increased the radius, which is also good. So they're trying to encourage Jarvan to kind of be that diving champion. And they're giving him a little bit more of a defensive steroid, which is good because most people build Jarvan kind of assassin right now. So I think that's good. I don't think it's going to bring him into the meta, but I think it might get him closer. And there might be a few other pros who pick him up. Besides, like, Ray, who's pretty much the only person who plays him right now. Okay, Kindred nerfs, it looks like. Her base armor got nerfed by 7, which is huge for her early game. That's really huge for her early game. But her armor growth stat went up slightly. And then they made it so that her W, her Wolf's Frenzy, no longer grants a heal, but instead it reduces the attack speed and movement speed of monsters by 50%. I think these are really good changes because one of the huge problems with Kindred is that she scaled incredibly well, but her early game she never felt weak, right? She could outduel a lot of other junglers, and then she could out-sustain them. Her ganks felt really powerful. So this is making it so they're removing kind of that sustain portion, but they're giving her like a compensation by making it so that she can still clear the jungle effectively, because that would obviously be very hard for an AD carry to do without some type of either healing or debuff to the monsters. And then they are nerfing her dueling capability with her armor reduction. So I think these are good. It actually might be overkill. This actually might cause Kindred to fall out of meta, but I guess we'll have to wait and see. Yeah. So Swain looks like the cooldown on Ravenous Flock. They upped it from 10 seconds to 20 seconds. So they're basically making it... Okay, so they're making him more like... I guess you'd say like Alawi or something like that, where he has like key times of power, and when he activates his ultimate, you just want to kind of just run away from him. That's fine. I think Swain definitely did need a nerf because he was very powerful. I feel like 20 seconds is a long time though. I feel like that's a pretty long cooldown for an ability that's really pivotal to Swain as a champion. I would have preferred them to make it more like 15 seconds or something like that, but I guess we'll have to wait and see to see if he got nerfed too much. Syndra got some bug fixes. It looks like the big one is that when she's casting her R, it'll now continue to check for spheres during the entire cast duration rather than only on the on cast. So if you use like your Q while you're using your R, it'll take that Q into account and fire out an extra ball. So that's good, and the bug fixes are good. Syndra got a buff last patch onto her ability power. So I think we'll see Syndra a little bit more. I don't think she's going to be like LCS picked. But that's good because Syndra felt kind of weak after the mage update. Trundle health regeneration down. That's great. Yeah, because I mean Trundle's got really high base regen, health regen. He's got a passive which allows him to regen health. He's got all sorts of ways to life steal. He usually goes Grasp of the Undying too. So you never felt like you could punish Trundle if you were a melee champion. It felt like he was kind of like unstoppable in a one-on-one fight. So I think this is good. I think this will allow people to punish Trundle a little bit more, but they're not touching some of his key power, like in his ultimate. So I think that's good. I think that this will make him a bit healthier and make him a little bit less oppressive. Twitch looks like they're doing a bug fix. So it used to be that ambush stealth delay would instantly complete if Twitch killed an enemy champion. Well, that's a pretty big bug. So yeah, I'm glad they fixed that. Vladimir looks like they are nerfing him, so they made it so that he gets less ability power for bonus health, but he gets more health when he gets ability power. So they're incentivizing people to build more ability power on Vladimir and build less health items on Vladimir, which I think is good. Because going like tank Vladimir, I mean, it's the same problem that we have with all these other tank champions that can deal a ton of damage. So I think that's good. And then it looks like they are reducing the base damage on transfusion, but increasing the ability power ratio. So this is also designed to encourage him to build more ability power. They're trying to get him away from all those tank builds that he was going. So okay, I think that's fine. I don't know if it's actually enough because Vladimir is still really strong. Volibear, W damage and attack speed down at early ranks. I don't know how I feel about this. I mean, Volibear has a very strong win rate, but he really is like an early game champion, and the fact that they're nerfing his early game, it really could have a huge impact on him. So we'll see. It looks like it's not too much of a damage nerf, but the attack speed is kind of huge. That's really going to hurt his clear time. I would have been fine with just the damage nerf, but I think the attack speed is a little bit much. So I think that yeah, Volibear is gonna suffer pretty heavily in this patch. And then Ziggs, it looks like he just got a bug fix. Okay. His Q will more consistently explode when bouncing near large targets. Alright, sure. It looks like they cleaned up some of their spaghetti code for terrain abilities so that now instead of your champion trying to path around the terrain, they'll just go towards the terrain. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, because there's so many terrain abilities now that they had to make some changes because it was getting really frustrating that you try and click somewhere and then terrain ability comes up and then your character does something really weird. Okay, so yeah, that's good. That's really good. Howling Abyss changes, don't really care that much about those. Ancient Coin Lines, now they're giving it cooldown reduction, but they're reducing the health regen, increasing mana regen. And then when fully completed, it's going to have armor. Okay. And it also has Point Runner. So it builds up to 20% moving speed over 20 seconds when near turrets, fallen turrets, or void gates. Okay, that's really interesting. So they're making it so that it builds out of the Raptor Cloak now. I think this is going to help Ancient Coin because Ancient Coin was kind of like the item that a lot of people didn't build. I think this will help. I think there will be certain situations where you'll want to get this item, especially because we're seeing in LCS, we're seeing a lot of these speed comps come out. Like Sivir Karma, speeding up other like engaged champions like an Olaf or a Maokai or something like that. So yeah, these are good changes I think for Ancient Coin. Relic Shield, so now the execute is going to scale with level. That's really good because it was really hard to execute minions in the later game because everybody else could kill the entire minion wave before you even got close to it. So that's good that you'll be able to execute from higher health levels. Okay, Spell Thief's Edge line. The tribute passive no longer put on cooldown when killing enemy pets. Okay, that's good. I like that. So Forbidden Idol, Ardent Censer, and Mikael's. So they now made it that Forbidden Idol, you get 10% bonus healing and shielding power. And then that also goes on to Ardent Censer and Mikael's. And what's really interesting is that the passives have different names. So actually, as I'm reading it, they would all stack. So actually, if you had Forbidden Idol, an Ardent Censer, and a Mikael's, you would have 40% bonus healing and shielding power, which is kind of crazy. That's kind of cool. So I think that's going to make healing and shielding supports better. I don't think that people are going to just carry around an extra Forbidden Idol. I think that people will probably just pick up Ardent Censer and Mikael, so you're looking at probably 30% bonus healing and shielding power. But that's interesting. And then they also looks like they increase the ability power on Ardent Censer. Yeah, I think you're going to see a lot more healing and shielding champions with these changes. Soraka, Karma, Sona, Nami, even Lulu. Um, they all benefit from these changes. So yeah, that's really interesting. Ruby Sightstone. Combined cost is down, okay, and then active item cooldown reduction is now 20%. That almost, I think that's going to make it worth it. I think that, yeah, you're going to see a lot more people pick up Ruby Sightstone. If you pick up like, a Locket and a Mikael's, yeah, I could see Ruby Sightstone being really nice. I mean, even for the supports who build like Zhonya's, that could be a really good pickup because the Zhonya's cooldown is pretty high now, and that 20% reduction could be really useful. So yeah, this is a good change. I think you're seeing a lot more supports pick up Sightstone. You might even see some junglers pick it up if they decide to go for more active items. Alright, Protobelt Dash now disabled spellcasts and channels for the duration. Okay. Alright, that sounds good. It looks like it's kind of a bug fix as well, because I know they're having issues with people, being able to cast multiple spells when they were doing that. Wards now grant experience, and attacking them no longer puts you in combat. Okay, that's cool. So for like Boots of Mobility or Cloud Drake, looks like 30 experience. That's actually pretty significant, especially at lower levels. And then it looks like they've got this thing for every 150 seconds the word's live, it will become visually swaggier for the team that places it. So I assume that means for pink wards. Um, I'm curious to what a swaggier ward looks like. Um, so yeah, that's an interesting change. I guess that'll also be useful for LCS matches. That you can see some really swaggy ward, and you'd be like, oh yeah, that ward survived for 5 minutes or whatever. I know that a lot of the casters like to talk about how long a pink ward has survived. Catch-up experience now scales more smoothly. I think that's probably good. Post-kill death experience, that's also good for tanks and initiators who die really early and their team cleans up. Early kill rewards are down, which is I think that's going to be good because the game feels really snowbally right now. It's going to really hurt some of those um, early game champions, and I do feel like the meta is shifting more towards late game, especially like in the LCS. We've been seeing a lot longer games, so this might be a little bit overboard. But I guess we'll have to see. We'll have to see how this affects things. Because sometimes it feels like if you just play safe and you just put yourself on a scaling champion, that it's pretty much like an auto win. So I'm curious to see how much this will affect the early game champions. Teleport channel duration's been increased by a second. Drops the caster to the side closest to the caster's nexus. Okay, good. So you always appear behind your tower. Teleports are always visible even through fog of war if you have vision within 500 units of the target location. That's a huge change. Um, so yeah, so that means that if you dropped a ward in a brush in like bot lane and your ally teleported there, even if they didn't have a ward in that brush, they would still be able to see you because they would have vision within 500 units. Okay, that's interesting. That's gonna make bot lane teleports a bit harder. And then the teleport now issues a on my way ping. That's good. Because yeah, a lot of people don't notice it, and that's very frustrating if you're playing a champion with teleport and your team doesn't notice when you teleport down. Alright, so they made it so that Dragons and Rift Herald no longer level up during combat. This is a direct result from one of the LCS matches where one of the teams missed Smite because the Dragon leveled up, like literally when they went to smite it. So that's kind of hilarious that they made that change that quickly. Um, but yeah, okay, so yeah, that's purely because of the LCS issue that they had. Attack move works properly when using move command. So fix a bug where attack move command issued immediately after a move command to the same spot would fail to overwrite the move command. Okay, interesting. They're now bringing in the ranked emblem. So basically, depending on whether you um, are a solo player or if you have a like a group of like 2 to 4, or if you have a group with a full team, you'll get a different emblem. Um, does it say where it's actually going to show up? It doesn't say where it's going to show up. It says, okay, flaunt them on your profile and league pages. Okay. So you won't be able to like tell from like champion select who's what. That's interesting. All right, rank tier restrictions are going down for high tier pre-mades. So if you're challenger, you can go down to diamond 2, and if you're diamond 5, you can go down all the way down to platinum 3. Okay, that's fine. So they're going to bring in scheduled ranked 5s. They don't say exactly when it looks like. but yeah, I'll be interested in that. Definitely have enough people to do some ranked fives. I'm hoping that they'll increase the size that you can have on a team. All right, friends list. Mobile users are no longer added to the total count of online friends. Okay, interesting. And then bug fixes. Those all look fine. And it looks like upcoming skins. We get Deep Sea Nami and we get Soul Stealer Vayne, which is only available through Hextech Crafting. So she's going to be another one of those skins where you have to get the 10 shards in order to unlock her, kind of like Hextech Annie. All right, so that's the patch. I think overall pretty good patch. I'm actually really liking the support changes. I actually might play some more support this patch with these changes. And they're saying that they're going to bring out some more support changes in the coming patches. I'm curious to see what's going to happen with that. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you like it, please give it a thumbs up. If you have questions or comments, if you agree or disagree with my analysis, please let me know by leaving a comment. If you like the content on the channel, please subscribe. I hope you guys have a wonderful day. This is Randomonium signing off.